Hi friends, I'm Meliora. Welcome to my channel. We are trigger happy in this video, very much so. In this, we're not talking about anything dangerous for your health, though I guess suffocation might be one of potential dangers. We're talking about the fragrances that I love and enjoy wearing so much, and that have these most of these have this ethereal, fun, fluffy kind of quality that I just keep spraying and spraying and spraying and spraying until somebody tells me that probably 20 sprays is enough for today. Yeah, so the fragrance is like that. I'm gonna start with one of the all-time favorites by now. It's just kind of crazy for me to say because probably 3 years ago I didn't even know that this brand existed, but here we go. All-time favorite now is the Carnet Barcelona Tardis. Tardis, or Tardis, is basically, like, in a nutshell, a very souffle-like, light, ethereal type of gourmand. This is almond souffle with a little bit of like sugar powder sprinkled on top of it. It's very light, it's very watercolory. There's nothing heavy or oily or like, you know, super edible gourmand about it. It's very poetic and light in its sense. And the way that I actually got introduced to it was a subscriber of mine who sent me a decant, which turned out to be from Scentbird. I didn't, like, at that point I never heard anything about Scentbird. I subscribed and I got myself a second decant of Tardis. I completely used it up and eventually started hunting for the full-size bottle. Check it out, check it out. Back in the day, like 3 years ago, the fragrance net didn't have it, like almost like no outlets really had such an amazing selection of niche. And I think I spent probably 3 months trying to find it or like order it from abroad, and eventually I got it. Pretty expensive. For 15 ml I paid, I think, I want to say $98. It was a lot. It was a lot. By modern standards. Now, like, that I'm much wiser and like I know what kind of deals you can sometimes find on the secondary market or like in the discount stores, I'm not sure if I would pay $100 for this. But those were the old days when I would fall in love with something and I would feel that the life would stop if I didn't have it. When I got Tardis, I was just so enthralled by its like light souffle-ish and yet still sweet gourmand quality that I would just spray and spray and spray. I just kept, you know, it's like a third serving of a tiramisu where you keep lying to yourself, well, it's such a light dessert, right? It's so light, I can have a fourth serving. No, it's still a dessert, still has a bunch of sugar. But that's what it represents to me, like the kind of gourmand, the light, ethereal, and at the same time so yummy that you just want to keep reproducing these first notes and this kind of like puffy, almondy, ethereal kind of cocoon that it like surround yourself with that. Talking of desserts, let's go quickly through other gourmands. This is a Russian niche brand, Brakar, which is very rare type of brands, like niche perfume brands, because it's very affordable. It's affordable to a fault. And they do a lot of these kind of experimental collections. In that sense, it's not that different from Demeter, like the brand that has a lot of kind of experimental concept-based fragrances that are very affordable. This is even cheaper with I would say, a little bit more of a collection-based approach. So one of the collection was Café Gourmand, and they had all kinds of teeny tiny bottles. They're not that teeny tiny, I guess it's like 30 ml. That reproduced various desserts. So this is lemon curd, there was pavlova dessert, there were like different kinds of desserts. They cost probably, I don't know, $10 a bottle maybe, or something like that. It's just like the pain is that you have to be in one of the countries surrounding Russia in order to find a bottle like this. So they're very affordable when you're there, but they're almost impossible to get, or like more cumbersome to get if you're abroad. This is both very representative of a lemon curd. At the same time, it's a little bit less sticky and a little bit less tart. This has just the right combination of top notes to be just like, it's like overspraying heaven. Like, I can't have enough. And every once in a while when I find this bottle in the depths of my shelves, I just can't stop, and I'm in serious danger of just like spraying the whole bottle within a week. The problem is that this one doesn't last more than 15 minutes, so overspraying in this case I would call hugely justified, but such a big favorite. Talking of lemon curds, another version sort of the same story, vanilla with lemon, is Shalimar Souffle de Lumière, the most gourmand of them all out of the Shalimar Souffle line, but also the least sophisticated. Take it or leave it. But at least that's how I perceive this particular flanker. This is a little bit, let me do a comparison. I find that this is a little bit more, it's a horrible, non-descriptive word, cool. And this is a little bit more literal. It's in many ways very charming, but it's very simple. The Shalimar Souffle de Lumière, I would say, is number 2 when it comes to lemon curds and lemon tarts. The Brocard Café Gourmand lemon curd is like absolute top experience. It's just, you'll have to use bottle after bottle if you want to like keep smelling it around yourself. All right. Talking about something sweet but maybe not as gourmand, this is probably the most adorable, romantic, affordable amber on the market in my view. I have a huge tester. I already used up the first bottle of it, and this is Queen of Hearts by Queen Latifah. The beauty of this particular amber, let me get a swatch here, is that it is fruity without being overly synthetic. I find that a lot of affordable amber fragrances, be it Casimir by Chopard, be it Black Pearl by Elizabeth Taylor, and like many others, suffer from such a pronounced synthetic kind of peachy apricot amber accord that it makes me think of some hard candy from my childhood, or even like some cleaning product. Not necessarily cleaning product, it's just like very synthetic. This particular one, the Queen of Hearts, is the kind of easy to wear, lighter, romantic, kind of lightly fruity amber that pairs beautifully with other fragrances and wears beautifully on its own all the way through the day. You can wear it in the morning, you can wear it during the day, you can wear it at night if you're not up to something super heavy or super like liquor or, you know, like spice heavy. So beautiful fruity amber, probably the only one so far in my collection that is very cheap. We're talking $10-15 per bottle, that I really enjoy wearing, and I just keep refreshing it. Keep it coming. It's just so easy and delightful to wear, and it never smells cheap to me. It never goes to this like sweet synthetic fake fruits, kind of like shampoo style fruits. It just always stays delightfully charming. I think I just said 2 synonyms in one sentence. Okay, that's fine. Next is gonna be a controversial fragrance for me. I talked about this in my Mama Paris review. If you're curious, you can watch all the fragrances that I tried from them, like what I value more, what I value less. This is a full-size bottle that I bought from abroad, which is to this day puzzling me whether this is a fake or not. I keep switching in between, because a lot of people wrote to me after I made that video and said that they had the same impression, and then they went and compare, and sometimes it's a batch issue, and Mama Paris, Kidu, and maybe other fragrances are not all very identical to each other. Even like within the same name of a fragrance, you get a different batch, it might give you a slightly different olfactory impression. I'm just, at this point, I give up. I don't know if I've accidentally, by mistake, got myself a fake. I definitely paid enough money for it to be upset by that notion, but it's such a delightful, light, airy floral that I just keep wearing it, every morning. I just gravitate toward grabbing this bottle and just giving a very generous 10 spritz all around me, on me, in the air, on my dress, everywhere, just everywhere. It's both invigorating and thinly elegant scent. So Q2 by Memo Paris also, I just oversprayed grossly, partially because now I can kind of like forget about the sticker sting, because I think, well, if it's fake, I better use it up as soon as I can. So maybe in a way it helps me to wear it more often, I don't know. Another very thinly weaved elegant floral that I just keep spraying all over is Jasmine by Atelier Boulem. The name of the fragrance is Half Moon. I don't know if you've seen them, full-size bottles. They are very simple, kind of minimalistic design. They say New York, but they also draw a lot of inspiration from their Nordic roots, the creators of the brand, I mean. And here we get a slightly sharp, a very, very high frequency, clean, vibrating jasmine scent that lacks any kind of indolic or heavy or animalic notes. This is probably it's almost like a flute of a jasmine, somewhat reminiscent of a Atelier Boulem d'Orange jasmine and cigarettes, but there in Eldo version, the kind of the slightly metallic or like these kind of sharp, pronounced, piercing notes of cigarettes are way more pronounced. Here I also get a little something like that, some sharp edge to this jasmine, but it's still it's way more classic in the way that it portrays itself, and in many ways it's easier to wear. I love both, but when push came to shove, I used up my decant of jasmine and cigarettes, and I have a second decant now, and that's enough for me. And I actually opted for a full-size bottle of Atelier Boulem Half Moon. It's like when I'm in a kind of like sunny, semi-cold morning mood, you know, when you want to feel something both uplifting and sunny, but at the same time a little bit zesty, like the early morning weather can be, I go for this. This is one of the best jasmine scents that I have in my collection, and I just like keep going. Very, very trigger happy there. Talking of other florals, there are gonna be a lot of florals here, and that's what I'm realizing, and I think that kind of makes sense. I'm struggling to imagine a super heavy, bright Arabic spicy gourmand that I would like use 10 sprays or 20 sprays for. Florals, it kind of gets very easy very quickly. A new perfume in my collection, and already like a big time favorite. This is L'Artisan Parfumeur Le Deuce, and this is a slightly honeyed smell of linden flowers. Basically, linden flowers are somewhat reminiscent of honeysuckle, and they also have a lot of that kind of honey-like quality because a lot of honey is made of linden. So if you always were looking for a kind of pollen but not too pollen, honey but not too sweet, something, you know, like if it was possible to make a souffle out of honey, like a light floral that has that honey-like flavor, look for fragrances that have linden in them, and Le Deuce is probably one of the best linden scents on the market at this point. Obviously more known and beloved in Europe, where a lot of linden trees, but I'm sure if you like honeysuckle and you're looking for something even lighter, this could be it for you. Oh, it just brings me back to like summer vacations when I was a child, and like the linden trees would be blooming everywhere. We collected them and dried them and made tea out of those little flowers. Beautiful stuff, love it. And this is kind of like, if I had to choose one floral that gives me very kind of idiosyncratic specialness feeling, that probably would be this one. This soft spices that are so soft that I feel like I need a bucket in order to truly appreciate the fragrance. This is Histoire de Perfumes 1725. This fragrance was dedicated to Casanova. But I really like that Histoire de Perfumes puts the notes on the fragrance itself. So we get, what is so spicy about this? It has lavender in its heart, it has vanille, Amande Le Deuce, I think it's also almond, santal, cedar, amber, and the opening is bergamot, citron, pamplemousse, and réglisse. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's lemon. Like, why do I feel spices then? I don't know. This is just, it's kind of reminiscent to me, maybe because of almond with Tardis, but Tardis is way more obvious almondy, slightly sugar powdery scent. This, I struggle to give it a proper description, and it's probably that's why I oversprayed, grossly oversprayed, because I keep trying to build it up to a degree when I will be able to pick it apart, and I never can. It just makes me think of something like a balm, you know, like a very thick lotion that's very balmy that you spread all over yourself, and it gives this very subtle flavor to your skin. It's not even a fragrance, it's not even a scent, it's just a whiff of something very uncertain. So yeah, probably cedar, amber, lavender. It's all probably there. Can I really pull it out? Not so easily, and it just creates this haze of something that I want to smell more of. So yeah, Casanova 1725 by Histoire de Perfumes. I kind of regret that I only have 60 ml because this fragrance is gonna go fast. It's gonna go fast. I don't know why am I warning you. I'm warning myself at this point. Zizonia. This is the one which I overspray. It's another beautiful floral, this time by British brand Penhaligon's. They are kind of used to, they kind of set the standard in many ways to what are the ways to interpret Arabic scents through European Puritanism. So a lot of their scents have this kind of turn that makes you think of Turkish baths. They always are somewhat aromatic, somewhat make you think of a barber shop or aftershave, you know, like Old Spice, but in the such highbrow fashion that there's only an echo, only a hint of something of that kind. And Zizonia is no different. This is eau de toilette, and this is, to me, a very herbal plus aftershave kind of opening, where at the heart of it you get beautiful florals. And as soon as I lose, like when I just spray it, I want to get through the barbershop notes as fast as I can, but as soon as they're gone and I'm just left with beautiful semi-dry florals, I want to recreate that feeling again. This is kind of like a very push and pull type of dynamics, and this is the one that I overspray and immediately start regretting it because it's already perfectly balanced. In my book, Penhaligon's do an amazing job by perfectly balancing their perfumes, that 3 max 4 sprays, it does it, you know, like you don't need any more. And when you start overspraying, you kind of break the balance of notes, and then the fragrance tends to go way more bitter. It becomes more harsh, and even smells cheaper in a way. Like it loses the sophistication and the temporal dynamic that I appreciate so much. So I do every once in a while overspray Zizonia, but warning, maybe not a good idea. But it's just so seductive. Like I constantly want to experience this kind of like wave, a changing way of different notes, and you should trust the maker. The Penhaligon's really know how to balance perfumes, that it's just, you just put 3-4 sprays and you're set. You're set for the day. You don't need to mess with perfection. Another British but way more affordable option that I just keep refreshing, especially when I'm at work, is Burberry Brit Rhythm. I got a bucket. I had a smaller bottle, and I think when I was in my 20s I probably had a smaller bottle. It's just such a easy to wear lavender scent, especially for those of you who like Burberry fragrances in general and don't like lavender. This is like an entry level lavender that allows you to kind of see how it plays well with others without dominating the experience and without making you think of, you know, less those like bowls that you put in the closet against like different kinds of moths or whatnot. So this fragrance is what I call first day at work. Is when you wanna look welcoming, inviting, and yet put together. Oddly enough, I'm not in love with Burberry Brit, the original, but I'm in love with the flanger. So Burberry Brit Rhythm, I have a bucket, and once I get it in my purse, I usually put a little decant. That's all I want to wear. I just like, let's refresh it every half an hour. Let's get like the kind of the dose of this preppy chic that makes me feel like, let's get shit done and smile as we do it. This is a weird one because I can't call it gourmand, but in a way it is. This is Dangerous Complicity by Atelier d'Orange. Usually Atelier d'Orange does a rather sharp, intentionally unpolished type of fragrances that have a lot of corners, have a lot of shape to them. And I think it's a general profile of a lot of niche fragrances. But this one is remarkably different. Dangerous Complicity is, to me, a very nude scent. It's very lotiony, it's very caressing, it sits very close to the skin. And it seems like there's something coconutty sweet there, maybe one of those lotiony florals that are kind of hard to identify, be it frangipani, gardenia, who knows. But you know what really gets me? Like, I usually grossly overspray it. Like, I often forget about using it because it's so quiet, but every once in a while, this is probably from 10 uses. Once I get into it, like, I don't smell it, I need more, and then an hour or two goes by, I'm completely confident that there's nothing left of me because it has like no projection, and then all of a sudden I get a whiff of Bacardi coconut rum. It's like, pina colada time? Where is it? Who's drinking rum? And this is it. So it has coconut rum in it, and it's a very sneaky type of accord. It doesn't necessarily present itself from the beginning, but it will keep kind of circling your nose, and every once in a while you'll get a whiff of it. It's like, oh, what is it? Is it in the next room? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So, it's a big favorite of mine, especially when it comes to overspraying. Another one that I made a mistake overspraying was Fat Electrician Semi-Modern Metaver by Atelier d'Orange. I made the same mistake as I do with Zizonia because after Dangerous Complicity I thought, oh, this is another creamy, lotiony, delicate scent. How wrong I was. Oh my god. The Fat Electrician, the Semi-Modern Metaver by Atelier d'Orange, its claim to fame that this is a very almost milky, creamy type of vetiver, which is not a very common version. Vetiver often, probably like, I don't know, 70% of all fragrances that are marketed toward men contain vetiver in some degree. And most of the time it's spicy or it's very kind of stony, cold, and sharp. It can be even gourmand. but it's very rarely milky and souffle-like. This is not the kind of vetiver that is common to find anywhere, be it designer, well, forget designer, even niche. So this is very one-of-a-kind type of vetiver, but you have to love the lotiony, slightly oily, kind of this like very soft, kind of muddy notes. Muddy in a way that there is nothing in particular that kind of jumps at you. It's almost like taking a vetiver, like a stick, you know, like a little, I don't know, wood stick covered with vetiver oil and wrapping it in candle wax. It's just, it's there, but it's not there. Yo, if you overspray it like I did, because I wanted to really build up that milky and kind of creamy feeling, and I wanted to get it more pronounced so I could also take it apart. The same thing, you really strengthen the vetiver becomes almost metallic. You strengthen the vetiver, but you don't really get more creaminess out of it. So it completely overspraying this one completely changes the balance, and it kind of ruins it in some ways, at least for me, because then it becomes a way more predictable type of vetiver fragrance. It loses its charm, and it's kind of like this demure, seductive nature. So, alongside with Zizonia, I constantly get seduced to get more of the same thing, and every time I do it, I regret it. So this is more of a confession than, you know, like my pride. But hopefully, after I make this video, you know, it gets ingrained in my mind that don't overspray these. They are perfect as they are. You don't need any more of them that you already put on. Alright, and now we get a few very delightful florals. Atkinson, My Fair Lily. Not the first white flower that comes to mind when you want to overspray something. To be honest, white flowers in general are not good candidates for overspraying unless they are made in the very particular British kind of Puritan type of fashion. Atkinson's My Fair Lily is a very fair depiction of a garden lily. I bought it in my quest for the most zombie-like, animalistic, teething kind of lily. This is definitely not it. A lot of people write online that it's like one of the most realistic lily scents and yada yada. Yes and no. It's a beautiful lily scent, but it lacks all the animalic notes that lily might present. For somebody, that could be a plus. And it's at the same time, it's not as high, piercing, and light as, let's say, Baiser Volé by Cartier. So this is probably the best light lily scent that I know in the market if you don't like lilies. You kind of like some aspects of them, but you get like a headache, or you really would rather omit their kind of the base of the lily scent and only keep the light flowy parts of it. I think this is a really good candidate, but for whatever reason, very quickly I stopped feeling it on myself, and I constantly want more of a base. I want that rich, animalistic, musky, maybe even green zombie-like lily, like the decaying flesh accents, which for whatever reason I love specifically when it comes to lilies and no other flowers. This lacks it, and I keep spraying and I keep spraying, and I just get a very annoying loud floral rather than get a full multi-dimensional lily out of it. So this is the experience where I do overspray, but I don't get what I'm looking for. So this is better left alone and just be used as a white lily morning scent. That's what probably it really tries to be. It doesn't try to be any more than it already is. But still a little bit disappointing to me for some reason. I don't know. I'll probably need to wear it more without the overspray and see if I can find additional interest in it, because so far to me it's kind of like a truncated type of smell. There's something in it that I love because it's truly realistic in its opening, but it doesn't have enough of kind of life for me to be intrigued to wear it longer. This is Gardenia Pétale by Van Cleef & Arpels. In general, all of the fragrances from this line by Van Cleef & Arpels are very ethereal. They are kind of watercolory. They are the least fancy fragrances I can think of when it comes to fragrances that are made by fine jewelry brands. They are in general, I mean, Cartier has its own boutique lines that are very pungent. So does Chopard. By I don't know any fragrance from Van Cleef & Arpels from their boutique line that would be controversial or offensive or in any way inappropriate. Here we get a very soothing, again, souffle-like gardenia that is wrapped in very finely milled soft spices. You can build it up to make it sweeter and a little bit more loud, and this is what I like about it. This is the kind of fragrance that I overspray intentionally when I want a party, when I want like more is more. At the same time, if I spray just 1 or 2 or 3 sprays, I get the most delicate, beautiful, soothing, lotiony type of gardenia that is like a quietly supporting my mood rather than declaring itself. And yet this is very overspray friendly. In contrast again with Semi-Modern Vetiver or Zizonia, this one plays very nicely depending on what kind of volume you want. If you really like bright, sweet gardenia scents, 20 sprays will do it. If you like something a little bit more understated, a little bit more demure, 4 sprays will do it. Such a universally beautiful gardenia scent, one of the best in my collection. And the last one I'm going to show you today is new for me, not new for many of you. This is Rosa Verde by Valentino. Not gonna lie, I swapped it 50% because of the bottle. I just really wanted this bottle. The Donna line by Valentino is such a old-timey stylish design. I had to have at least one. So here we get a bergamote rose. So this is a morning rose. It's very green, it's zesty, it's refreshing, but the fresh part of it is mainly through bergamot. Love it. If I want it to be more kind of more I'm all business, I overspray it, because then the bergamot becomes stronger, it becomes more powerful, and it almost becomes colder and icier and mintier in many ways, and it kind of dominates over the rose. If I want more of a morning rose with subtle hints of green notes and fresh notes and bergamot, then I go for like 3 or 4 sprays. So this is another example where the fragrance, the way that it kind of portrays itself changes depending on how much you apply. But I like both versions. It just depends what kind of effect I'm going for. Now for the section that many of you have been enjoying and been looking forward to: analysis and reflection. Overspraying in general gets a very bad connotation because of kind of the connotations of being either anosmic to certain notes and just not feeling your own fragrance enough, and overspraying to the point when it gets uncomfortable to the people around you. It also has a bit of a almost cultural highbrow issue with kind of like strong offensive smells that are looked down upon in generally Western culture. A lot of the roots of why the overspraying is, you know, quote unquote bad, is it takes actually a lot of roots in the certain parts of religion, such as Puritanism, where use of any fragrance was considered to be as worshipping devil. There's like a very rich history between smell and religious practices, where certain kinds of smells were almost literally the way you talk, not like literally, not in the millennial kind of sense, in a literal as in the dictionary sense, like the smell itself was the vessel, the material vessel that transferred the message from earth to the divine, to the divine dimension of the universe, so to speak. And yet, women wearing perfumes was looked down upon in many parts of the world throughout the human history. And it seems that that view still prevails to a certain degree. At the same time, the more we became respectful of individuality of different people, and the denser the living conditions became in the cities and even in the suburbs, the more obvious it became that we needed to, first of all, figure out our own boundaries and learn how to maintain them in a mutually respectful manner. And that included fragrance, because you cannot not smell something when it's there. You can close your eyes and not see something sometimes. You can even, like, you know, put your earpods in, or, you know, like just the headphones, and not hear something, but you cannot not smell. Until your receptors get so saturated that you lose ability to smell, you will have to be experiencing something if there is a scent in the room that you're in. So I think some of that bad connotation is based on some objective restrictions that exist in our civilization as we exist in very large tribes these days. And some of it is rather arbitrary and cultural beliefs based, and in that sense very arbitrary. I guess as much as I enjoy pungent and strong scents, I do enjoy the subtlety more. I feel like it gives more my brain and my body ability to go deeper instead of being more firmly held by the experience. So if the fragrance is very powerful and very loud, it definitely gives you stronger emotion often, but it's not necessarily a good emotion, as I pointed out, for example, with Fat Electrician by Aldo, or Zizonia by Ben Halligans. Here, the experience is broken in a way. It's no longer the same when I overspray it. And this is a good reminder for me to enjoy the scent in its subtlety in the way that it already is. You don't need to keep adding more and more sugar to your meals, or more and more loudness and volume to your fragrance. Sometimes though, overspraying, I mean, let's face it, right? Like the king is naked. Sometimes overspraying is just a literal consequence of a fragrance having not much longevity. Case in point, lemon curd. I love you, Brocard. I love lemon curd, but seriously, 15 minutes? Seriously? This is just painful. And in that sense, you have to overspray. It's just the technical properties of the fragrance don't allow you to enjoy the fragrance for any meaningful number of, I'm not even going to say hours, minutes to that matter. And yet sometimes it gets to the point that I have with this one, 1725 by Histoire de Parfums Casanova, where I'm on the verge of concluding that I'm anosmic to some components of this particular juice, because I don't have the same lack of smelling anything with other perfumes from this very brand. Usually, I mean, again, and I've been training myself to notice the subtleties, to kind of develop my palate, and I'm trying to be not strict, but kind of regiment in the way that how much sense I allow in my space, so I don't get overwhelmed too quickly, because receptors do get overwhelmed and they do get desensitized eventually. It's a real thing, just like it is with food. If at all times we're eating very corn syrup heavy or fried food, we actually lose our ability to taste things. It's pretty scary. especially if you live in the States, where finding good food is sometimes somewhat of a challenge. The same with scents. And I have to ask myself, is it me? Is it the scent? It's an open question right now. Is it just that I can't smell something here that other people's can? I think I could probably run a test and just test this theory with this particular flavor, this particular fragrance, but I don't know. And that's kind of worrisome to me, especially given the fact that right now we're living through a pandemic, and COVID severely affects, sometimes long term, our ability to smell and our ability to even process different sensations. It's scary not to smell something. Very scary. And yet, as pragmatic I am about the usage of fragrances, as mindful I try to be about not oversaturating them in order to really enjoy the scent, sometimes overspraying is just fun. And finally, I found a few fragrances like Tardis by Carnet Barcelona or Le Deuce by L'Artisan Parfumeur, the smell of kind of pollen and linden and a little bit of honey. These are the ones where just pushing that button is just so fun. And when you do it again, it's just as much fun. When you do it again, it's still a lot of fun. Yeah, so these are all my thoughts and feelings about trigger happy fragrances, the overspraying. I guess I'm at the point where I accept overspraying is just one of the ways to be, one of the ways to experience scents. I found my use case for overspraying, even though I was coming from a complete opposite point of view. Now I'm super curious to hear what you think about it. Do you overspray? Do you not overspray on principle, or just you have a very high sensitivity of your receptors and you like one spray is enough for almost any fragrance that you have in your collection? Like, does it vary? Why do we overspray? Why do you overspray? And what fragrances that give you the most fun when more is more? I'll be waiting for your comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and share this video with your friends if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.